Hi, I'd like to discuss something from our parsha that is pertinent now, specifically because of what's going on in the world with the murder of George Floyd, who was a black man murdered by a white police officer. And so now, as we know, there's this whole nightmare ensuing because of that. And now there's a myriad of discussions surrounding race, and I think it's addressed in our parsha, and so I'd like to take a look at it because there's a point being made here that really resonates with me, and so I wanted to share it with you. And so that is when we're told at the end of the parsha that Miriam and Aaron spoke lashon hara, they spoke evil speech about Moshe, and I want to look at exactly what it says because here is where we have to focus in, and it drives home the point. And that is, it says, "V'tidaber Miriam v'Aaron b'Moshe al odot ha'isha ha'kushit asher lakach ki isha kushit lakach." That is all we're told. And it means that Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe regarding the Cushite woman that he had married because he married a Cushite woman. That's all it says. We're not informed what exactly it is that they said. Now, there's a whole discussion, and there are two camps, basically. So, one believes that this Cushite woman is indeed his wife, Sipporah, who we see another place in the Torah. And they say that, we all know that Sipporah is from Midian. We see the story that when Moshe went to Midian and he fought off the people that were starting up with Sipporah and her sisters. And so we know Sipporah, for a fact, is from Midian. Cush is Ethiopia. So why is it saying that this is a Cushite woman when we know Sipporah is from Midian? So that's the other camp that says it can't be Sipporah, that it must be a second wife. And there's a midrash that says that when Moshe was fleeing from Paro, when he left Egypt, he was gone for a very long time, he first went to Cush, to Ethiopia, and there he gained high status. He was like a king, and he had been given, essentially took, a wife from Ethiopia, an Ethiopian wife, and that the pasuk is referring to this wife. This Isha Kushi is from Ethiopia that he had taken from the time that he had been there. But either way, you will find that most of the Mefarshim agree that what was this lashon hara, what was the evil speech? That it was the fact that Moshe had separated from his wife because he wanted to be pure at all times, because he had conversations with God, and that he separated from his wife, and that was the problem. They said, why did he need to separate from his wife? We're married. We're also prophets. We don't separate from our spouses. What's the problem? Anyway, that's when we're told that Moshe is most humble of all people, and that God immediately called him out of the tent and said, I want to talk to you. And he set them straight, and he reprimanded them, and he said Moshe is, on a whole nother level. He's not like any other prophet. I talked to him face to face. He has to be ready. He condoned his activity of separating from his wife. And what was the punishment that Miriam got? Miriam got afflicted with Sarat, where it is an affliction where she turned totally white, and she got this form of leprosy. It's a skin disease where she has to be separated from the camp until she heals. And we know that the nation waited for her for a week because of it, until she recuperated. So what's the deal? I really think that there's something the text is trying really hard to say to us, because it's bizarre. It's bizarre that it's telling us that the only thing it says is that they spoke about the Cushite woman Moshe took because Moshe married a Cushite woman. That seems totally irrelevant. It seems descriptive. Why is it mentioning the fact twice that she's a Cushite woman when it doesn't have anything to do with where she's from or who she is or what her appearance is, has nothing to do with what the complaint was. The complaint was that he separated from her. So why is it giving us that description that she's an Ethiopian woman? What difference does that make? And I think the difference that it makes, and I think what the text is trying to teach us, is that we need to have a sensitivity that maybe, not maybe, I'm sure, that when Miriam and Aaron were talking, and by the way, in the earshot of Moshe, they had no intention, it had nothing to do with the fact that she was Ethiopian. That was irrelevant to what they were saying. But the fact is that if somebody has a sensitivity, look, she was Ethiopian, the rest of the nation were just a bunch of Jews from Egypt. Okay, so she already felt like an outsider, whether it was because, she's from Ethiopia, a whole different culture, whether it was because of the color of her skin, because she was darker than the Jews from Egypt. Whatever it was, she had a whole culture. She might have felt like a conspicuous outsider. She maybe never felt comfortable. And just like we're told that we have to be extra sensitive to people that are different, to the ger, to the convert, because they're gonna feel that way. We have to be sensitive, and when we're saying something, or when we're coming with any sort of complaint or criticism, that the person who's different, who feels different, who feels like they're distinguishable because of some character trait, or from where they're from the color of their skin, it could be a whole host of things. But if somebody feels like they're different from the rest of the people, we have to be so sensitive. And that even though Miriam and Aaron, what they were saying had nothing to do with the fact that, she was from Ethiopia or because she was black, it might have been, who knows what Moshe thought, who knows what Moshe's wife, whoever she was, either Zipporah or the woman from Ethiopia. Either way, she might have thought, they're complaining, they're saying something, or Moshe might have thought because of the fact that she was Ethiopian. Because that will always be in people's minds when they have something that they're insecure, that sets them apart. And that's why Miriam got Sarat. Sarat was a very fitting punishment, because then she turned totally white, that she was distinguishable from the rest of the people, and that she had to be isolated, and she had all that time to think, oh my gosh, I'm different now. My color, my skin is different. Are people talking about me? What are they saying? What are they thinking? Because then she was isolated. She was now the odd person out, and she had the time to reflect what that's like, and to be, to have that in mind, that what it's like when you don't know what people might be saying because you now appear different. So we have to be so sensitive before we say anything to anybody, that they might take it in a way that you never intended it for them to take, and to be sensitive and more caring and more loving, and to always keep that in mind. Shabbat Shalom.